people will say, yeah, that's the man who started the riots. Well, if I started it, I would have been charged with it. I mean, if she would have just let me go to the hospital, gone on my way, it might not have happened that day. But because she was delaying things and asking silly questions while I've got a hole in my back, this is when it's all kicking off. That's how the riot started.
Have you slept here one?
My name's Michael. Grew up in South London, mostly Brixton, Stockwell, Wandsworth Road, South East, Walworth Road, Clapham, you know, basically all around most parts of South London.
That's the year?
Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to say? How I thought the riots started?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Well, there's a few things, you know. There was a lot of bad atmosphere with the police, how we was treated as young people, black and white, mostly the black community, which is Brixton, Stockwell, Wandsworth. I mean, but all communities was getting it all around South London, but I can just talk for what I know around where I was living at the time, Brixton. You know, they used to have a thing called the SPG, police van. And what they'd do, if they see 2-3 people, even if there was one person and he was a youth, say like he was a teenager, they'd pull up, stop you, search you, and then basically tell you that, you know, you're gonna stick your hands up to either a bag of weed or a lock knife. And if you gave them any attitude, you'd be brought in a van and you'd be charged with both, and plus you'd get a beating. I mean, that's what they was doing, you know. And back then as well, they had a law called the sus law, so they could say, right, you was putting your hand in a lady's handbag. They didn't have to produce a lady. They could say, right, you was putting your hand in a lady's handbag, you're nicked for sus. There was no lady. Where's the lady? Where's the evidence? They didn't need no evidence because that was a charge. So a lot of that was going on. So everything built up. There was a lot of things what was built up. Bad atmosphere, the way how you was treated with the police. And I mean, you know, when you've got a teenager leaving school and then you've got charges where you've been arrested for things you haven't done, but you've got a charge, namely offensive weapon, bag of weed, or the sus, it's hard to get a job, you know. So there was a lot of resentment.
Did you ever get a victim of any of those 3?
Yeah. I've been charged with all of them what I've just told you. The sus I've been charged with. I've been charged with the bag of weed. I've been charged with defensive weapon. Also, the assaults. Because they're charging me for it. They said I was pulled up in Brixton Market. They used to have dry cleaners. And I've gone to the dry cleaners with a friend of mine. The police, 3 plainclothesmen come, said, right, we're arresting you for sus. Well, what do you mean sus? Well, what are you talking about, sus? Oh, you dipped your hand in that lady's handbag by the BQ, the bus stop. What are you talking about? Next thing, they're dragging us down, and I'm not having it. So I'm having a fight with the police while they're dragging me down to the police station. So by the time I get down there, I'm charged with sus, and then I'm charged with assault. And I'm the one who's getting assaulted. So, I mean, that's just bringing resentment, you know? So imagine they're doing that to me, they're doing that to thousands and thousands of people, you know?
So there was lots of tension in the community at that time?
Yeah. I mean, back then as well, you had the National Front, which was an organisation. I mean, they was doing sneaky tactics. So they'd drive into the community in a van or something, 2, 3 in the morning, jump out, beat up a young black youth, jump back in the van and gone. You know, so a lot of that was going on as well. I mean, I had a friend, they jumped out on him and stabbed him in the neck. You know, he was just going about his business. You know what I mean? So also you had racial tension with the police as well. I mean, back then, there wasn't really any black police officers or Asian police officers. Nowadays, you've got Asian police officers, you've got black police officers a lot. But back then, you didn't really have it. So for some reason, you know, racist, I don't really like to use that term racist, but there was a lot of race tension, you know.
Right. So after the riots,
No. Sorry, Sid, I've got another question for that. Can you ask about how the 81 riots started? How the 81 riots
that's
started?
what he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
He wants to find out how did you think, what triggered off the 81 riots, Michael's situation.
Well, as I said, a lot of tension was building up. That could have happened any time back then. But that particular time, back in April 81, which I believe is, I think it was the 11th of April. Yeah. I mean, things was building up. And I got into an altercation with somebody. And we bumped into each other on that particular day. And knives was pulled out on each side, from my side and his side. Somebody grabbed me off the road. When I was taken off the road, when he grabbed me, he said, "Come, Michael, come off the road," I was stabbed in the back. So I rode the stab in the back, and I sort of run down the road, down Atlantic Road. Is it Atlantic Road? You got Relton Road.
Yeah, Wait Road and then the Atlantic Road.
Atlantic Road, yeah. I ran into two police officers, and I had the knife in my hand, and they ended up getting my jumper. So I've got a cut in the back, and they've ended up with my jumper. Then I turned the first left, and I went up to a friend's house, and they was patching me up, and they said, "You got to go to hospital. We'll call the ambulance or something." I said, no, call a cab. Yeah. And when they patched me up, anyway, they've called the cab. The cab's come. I've gone downstairs. I've got into the back of the cab, and as soon as I got into the back of a cab, it was a policewoman who stopped the cab. Yeah. And she's opened up the back door. I'm in the back seat. She's opened up the back door and she's talking. By this time, I'm getting here. The air is getting to my lungs. I need to go to the hospital. She's there talking, on a question. I can't even remember what she said. Then a crowd gathered round. And, I mean, if she would have just let me go to the hospital, gone on my way, it might not have happened that day. But because she was delaying things and asking silly questions while I've got a hole in my back, so the crowd's gathered round. They don't like what she's doing. So a friend of mine, Dennis, he's come through the crowd, and he's taking me out of the cab. While I'm in the car now, in my friend's car, this is when it's all kicking off. That's how the riot started. So I was like the match what struck the flame, so to speak. But it was going to happen in anyway. It was just a matter of time. But that particular day sparked it by the way how that lady, that police officer, was conducting herself round the cab car. She would have just let me gone on my way. They could have talked to me at the hospital. She could have caught up with me. But, things happen, and that's how it happened. And it went on from the Friday until the weekend. So basically, I was in the hospital while it was all going on. But I will say, I had about 30 odd visits. All sorts of people came to the hospital to come and see me, which is a good thing. So thank you everybody for the people who came to see me in hospital and wished me well.
So how did you feel about the riots, given that technically you might have been the one who lit the match?
Well, how do I feel?
Yeah, did you think you were responsible in a way? Did you see yourself as being responsible?
No. As I said, that was going to happen. That was on the cards. That was definitely going to happen. Because the tension what was building up it was going to happen. And it just so happened on a day where I was stabbed in the back.
While you were in the hospital, did you know it was all going on? Did you see the news or anything like that?
I mean, we're talking 40 odd years ago. I can't remember. I never see it on the news, but obviously I knew it was going on, yeah, because I had visitors. Yeah.
They didn't charge you or anything.
No, what was there to charge me with?
I was wondering because through those period of time they always charge you for nothing.
No, but it was the reason why they never charged me because it blew up. It was worldwide. It blew up. It wasn't something what's going to be kept quiet. If it was kept quiet now and it never blew up, it never went on the television or never, maybe I might have been charged. But because it blew up, they had to be on their P's and Q's.
Did your life change after that?
When you say change, what do you mean?
I mean, like, obviously you were at the centre of this big national...
No.
Did people realize it had something to do with you? A community or the wider community, did they realize that you were the spark to this?
Well, everyone knew. Everyone would always say, yeah, I'm the man who started the riots. I'm not the man who started the riots. I'm not the man who started the riots. If you want to say I'm part of it, I'm part of it. I'll say I will be part of it because I'm in that generation. I was in that time, you know what I mean? Yeah, I suffered like what anybody else suffered, you know what I mean? Right? But, to even think that I was going to get charged with what? I mean, that's us thinking, but, a lot of people will say, yeah, that's the man who started the riots. Well, if I started it, I would have been charged with it. 100%. Do you know what I mean? Because it was that big. Buildings was burnt down. People's property was messed up. People's cars was messed up. People lost their business, do you know what I mean?
To be honest with you, I was there walking around and right beside the fires and it was frightening at any given time.
Well, of course it's frightening, man, you know what I mean? It is frightening, but, I think things just got more subtle after that. I mean, was it back in 2012, the last riots?
11, yeah.
Back in 2011. So you're talking from 2011 back to 81. So if you're getting a riot 30 odd years later, what's changed? I mean, our parents, they was hard-working people. No two ways about it. Their main concern was to get a job, get a house, look after their kids. They put us all in schools. They done right by us. No two ways about it. But the minute we, as their children, go through that door, there's no more control because we're outside the door. But while we're in the house, we was good. Yeah? That, as far as I'm concerned, my parents and all the people I know, their parents grew them good. They was hard working. They was working people. I mean, they came over here. The mothers working in the hospitals became nurses. Yeah. The men became workers. Some of them became builders. Some of them became electricians. Some of them worked under the underground. Some of them worked in Fords. Do you know what I mean? They was hard-working people. But they had their problems. Because back then in the 50s, yeah, you had the teddy boys. So it was hard for them. You know what I mean? Just as much it was hard for us. But they went through it. But it was just our generation, born in this country. We're classed as English because we're born in this country. But the people, like the English people, they're looking at it different. Some people got ignorancy, you know what I mean? I was brought up with black and white. I got white friends, I got black friends, so I don't know about racism, but it's there, you know. Our parents, they got it, but they cracked on. But they went through it. They went through it. I've had stories from my dad and my uncles and that. I mean, they went through it. I spoke to my dad before he passed away. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people, they didn't have their right papers, but they got their papers dealt with after a while being in this country because they was working in this country. So I don't get 40 years, 50 years down the line, you want to go and deport this man. Back to, and he came over here when he was a little boy, and 50 years later, he's a grown granddad, and you want to deport him back to the country where he came over when he was, I don't understand that. I don't get that. To me, that's part of just being, that's bringing the racist card back into it. That's bringing the ignorancy card back into it. That's the card they're playing. There's only one man who I believe who can fill that shoes. And that's a man called Ken. Conscious Ken.
Conscious Ken, where was he based?
I think he works at the harbour in Brixton, some drug place in Brixton. Because he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and he's willing to help people. I've always known that since I was a kid. I've known that about Ken. Yeah. And he's still doing things in the community today, you know what I mean? So he's been on two parts of the path. He's been on that path, but he's on the straight path and he helps people, and I believe that he could be a community leader. If we don't do anything about these youngsters, we need to be doing something about these youngsters, 100%. And they're crying out for help. Just because they're doing what they're doing, I don't think they're not. They are. They are. They're the ones who we should be looking to really sort out.